into a universe where you're the master of your destiny for as long as you can keep the trip going. This is the arcade experience. We're Colecovision. We bring the arcade experience home with games like Donkey Kong with multiple screens, arcade controls, and arcade graphics that let you have the arcade experience at home because your vision is our vision. Colecovision.
Hello and welcome to the first instalment of Replay Retro Season 4, the show that brings you both the best and the rest from the history of gaming. A lot of the time on this show we talk about little systems that nearly made it to the number 1 slot but fell short due to some failure by the manufacturer or a clever comeback by a rival. However, this time we're taking a look at a system that truly outclassed its rivals in every respect, as we look back at the rise and fall of the Colecovision from Coleco. The Connecticut Leather Company had started life as the name suggests, manufacturing leather goods in Connecticut, before moving on to portable garden swimming pools and eventually toys. In the 70s, Coleco were manufacturing a series of handheld video games, as well as the Telstar line of TV plug-and-plays. But when the Atari VCS arrived, the video game market exploded. A home system with interchangeable cartridges was the clear way forward from single-game consoles like the Telstar range, and Coleco wanted a way into this new market. They turned to designer and engineer Eric Bromley, who had previously worked in research and development for several coin-op companies and was initially presented with an available chipset as a potential investment for Coleco. However, Bromley didn't feel this hardware was the right direction and turned it down in favour of working on his own design. This rejected hardware would eventually go on to become the Intellivision released by Coleco's rivals Mattel. Bromley completed an initial design for the Colecovision around 1979, but the RAM-intensive machine was too expensive to produce for any kind of profit, and the project was shelved until a few years later when the cost of RAM dropped and production was given the green light by Coleco CEO Arnold Greenberg. The console used a Zilog Z80A processor found in many devices of the period, including the MSX and Sega SG-1000. A General Instruments chip provided the system's 3-channel sound, and as it was designed to bring home true arcade graphics far better than its competitors, a Texas Instruments video chip gave a display resolution of 256 by 192, with 16 colours capable of displaying 32 sprites at once. In order to ensure the system could update the display at this resolution while still moving sprites fast enough to challenge the player's reflexes, the Colecovision had a unique way of drawing images using 2 layers. The foreground layer could move a limited number of objects rapidly over an entirely separate background layer without redrawing the whole screen. This achieved an effect that would have bogged down the Atari system, whilst also negating the Intellivision's problems with transferring sprites to sections of the screen controlled by different chips. These arcade-quality graphics would become the system's greatest selling point, but as we've discovered here so many times before, hardware is nothing without games, and Atari had locked down the rights to the biggest, most popular games of the time, leaving Coleco to pick through what was left. Coleco wanted to make knockoff games like several other companies had done before, but Bromley pleaded with them to use proper titles for instant recognition, and his experience of the arcade sector gave him industry connections, allowing him to secure great titles, including the racing hit Turbo. However, his greatest and luckiest success came during a visit to Nintendo HQ to view their upcoming titles, when Bromley stumbled across a popular Japanese arcade machine on his way to the toilet. He instantly fell for the game design and characters, knowing that they would become a smash hit in the West. Coleco secured the rights to the game, and in August 1982, the ColecoVision launched, bundled in with Donkey Kong. And by Christmas of that year, the system had sold over 500,000 units, soon passing the 1 million point at the start of 1983. The powerful hardware was catching up to its rivals fast, and then in a genius move, the company massively increased the games library whilst also making upgrading from an Atari more viable by producing an expansion module allowing the system to play VCS cartridges. This certainly wouldn't be allowed to happen now, and indeed Atari did try to sue Coleco. But luckily the judges agreed that as the add-on could be made entirely from off-the-shelf components, no copyright had actually been breached, and instead a royalty agreement was forged between the two companies. An Intellivision expansion was also rumoured, but never released, as was a super game system allowing for more ROM memory rather than the 32 kilobyte maximum available on the cartridges. Expansions which were released, however, included the driving controller and the Adam computer, which made the Coleco system into a fully fledged computer. A trackball controller was also released, along with advanced super action controllers, which would have been the first ever controllers to feature the tactile feedback we now know as rumble. However, this was scrapped due to engineering impossibilities at the time. Everything looked great for the ColecoVision, and systems were flying off store shelves. But in mid-1983, a storm was brewing. Something big was coming, and tough times were ahead for the industry. But before we find out how the ColecoVision fared, let's take a look at the hardware itself and just a few of the games. So here is the machine itself. This is the ColecoVision. Quite a nice, large, solid system. It's actually quite good looking by retro standards. I don't think it looks too tacky, where some systems do. You'll notice it looks quite similar to the Intellivision 2, although obviously it would be better to say the Intellivision 2 looks quite similar to it. On the front, you have this nice silver strip here, which is just a sticker. I have the CBS logo there, because CBS were the distributors for the ColecoVision outside of America. So I imagine if you have an American ColecoVision, you wouldn't find that logo there. ColecoVision video game system, CBS Electronics logo again. This bit here, expansion module interface, and that's because behind this door is the expansion module interface, where you would attach the VCS adapter, the Super Game adapter had it come out, the Adam connected through there, various bits and pieces like that, and then you've got some venting down here. On the top, you have the cartridge flap, nice dust cover door, insert cartridge here, designed for use on PAL UK TV system, your on-off switch, and your reset button. Obviously dominating the top of the console you find the controllers, and a lot of people think these are hardwired, built in, and start to worry thinking they can't replace them, but actually, look in here, they unplug very easily, and it's the standard 9-pin adapter that we all know. So you can use Atari controllers and Mega Drive controllers. They do work, they work fine. Obviously you don't have the keypad, so not everything works. The controllers themselves, not really one of my favourite controllers. They feel nice and sturdy. This joystick on them I tend to find is a bit stiff. Very rattly and clicky. And I've had to open up one of my controllers so many times to repair the contacts under there, because it just slips and it isn't quite in right, and it's quite annoying. Plenty of flex though on the controllers. It's nice telephone cord springiness. Ambidextrous fire buttons on both sides, so you can use it in either hand comfortably. One of these phone keypads that horribly became commonplace, as you'd expect. There's a little clip here for attaching overlays to that keypad to change those keys, what they look like essentially, so that they work for different games. I actually don't own any overlays, so I can't show you what that would look like. I don't think any of the games I have require overlays. And that's pretty much it from the controllers, really. I slot back in there like that. The sides of the console, nothing interesting to see there. The back, you'll find that the TV cable is hardwired, but you do get a lot of cable, absolutely tons of cable, so it being hardwired isn't really a problem. Power port there, I believe this is a proprietary socket. I've not seen it on another system. If that's wrong, please let me know. It's quite an odd one, really. You've got male pins on the console and female pins, well, female plug on the actual power supply itself, which is, as you'd expect, a nice big juicy brick. Underneath the system then, not a lot to see, just some ventilation and the sticker, which on this one actually the model number seems to be empty. That's interesting. We have a serial number but no model number. Never noticed that. And nothing else, really. I should point out it's a nice sturdy console. It's really tough feeling and very well built. I do like that about it. The games themselves then. This is Donkey Kong Jr. They look like this. Nice grip at the top here for locking your fingers into, for pulling it out of the system. Very good. But other than that, a very standard cartridge, really. Top labels, we do like end labels, making finding your games in your collection easier. Quite cool this, a little space on the back of the cartridge, which was for keeping your overlay in. So your controller overlay sits in there. You go, oh, I want to play this game, take the overlay off, pop it on the controller, plug the cartridge in, and off you go. Really good idea, that. I like that. Cartridges, of course, just slot straight into the cartridge port there. Press down nice and firmly, you'll hear a nice clunk, and it's in very solid. I mean, look at that. I wouldn't really suggest doing that, but they are in nice and solid. No wobbling about like you get on some systems. And then, of course, to remove it, just hold the system down and pull out the cartridge with another nice big clunk using them hand grips. So, now you've seen what the Colecovision looks like. Let's have a look at what Donkey Kong Jr. looks like. So this is Donkey Kong Jr. Apologies for the little bit of graphical glitching you can see on DKJ himself there. Forgot you can't jump fall down. That's just because I think this cartridge is in need of a bit of a clean. Obviously we're all familiar with the concept of the original Donkey Kong, but for those of you that don't know, on this one you're actually trying to rescue Donkey Kong, who has been captured by a guy that I don't think is actually Mario, but is supposed to look a bit Mario-esque. Wait until that blue one's gone and then we'll jump across there. And already, I mean, you can tell that the graphics of this game are far and away better than the graphics of, say, the 2600. I mean, it's not even a competition, realistically. There we go. I completed the level on Donkey Kong Jr. I'm quite chuffed with that. You can see that when it comes to the graphics of the 2600 or the Intellivision, there really is no contest. This is a far better machine. I mean, this is very faithful to the arcade. Anyone that says it isn't, I don't think they're looking at the same thing, and you wasn't going to make that. But no, it's a fantastic machine. And this is a brilliant port. And it's these arcade ports, remember, that are what made people want this system. So these arcade titles had to be good, or the system would fail. This is a very, very faithful port of Donkey Kong Jr. And a game I would definitely recommend. It's very addictive. I could sit here and play this for quite a while. Which is why I think before I do, we will move on to the next game. This is Zaxxon by Sega. Another classic arcade game. And again, I just want to apologise for the graphical glitches that you can see there. I think I need to look at stripping and cleaning the cartridge port on this Coleco. Those of you unfamiliar with Zaxxon, where have you been? Pull up! It's a fantastic game that just gets so difficult as it goes on. And again, do you really think a game like this could have looked anywhere near this good on, say, the 2600? At a push, you might convince me the Intellivision could do similar. But I genuinely think this is the only system from its time, from, you know, 82, from the 82 and 83, that kind of area, that could have pulled off these kind of graphics. The sound is primitive but good. It's better than, again, probably the 2600 because there's some range to it. And graphically, this game is brilliant. It scrolls fairly well. Control of the plane is relatively fluid. The graphics, you can tell what everything is down there. You've got silos and turrets and whatever else. This is a very difficult game. Cry, I remember this game. Oh, there we go. An enemy plane at last. Yeah, take you down. Another game I would really recommend, and it was, don't forget, arcade ports like this were what this system was designed. Ah, that was a silly crash. Arcade ports like this are what this system was designed to do, and it does them very well. This is very faithful to the arcade version. And you see, the good thing with these arcade conversions is that not all the levels were included, which made people go to the arcades. So actually it was very good for companies like Sega to let their arcade games be on the Colecovision, because people would play this and think, wow, Zaxxon, this is brilliant, and then they will go to the arcade to play the extra levels. Another fantastic game, made possible by the Colecovision. Last up then, we have Space Panic, a game with some absolutely crazy sound. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like this or if the console is just wigging out. Am I going to catch him? No. Ah, none of them are coming the way I want them to go. Yes, come into my web, said the spider to the fly. And now you die. There you go. Again, the graphics here are better than the 2600 could have done. I imagine if we'd had this on the 2600, our little man would be a kind of a blue stick. He wouldn't have a face like he does here. He clearly has a face with eyes in a space helmet. And, you know, identifiable legs that move. And that's made possible by the extra detail that the ColecoVision can handle because of those layers and that better video chip. Whether the sound on this game is working or not, it does show you a bit of the range of sounds, at least. But no, it's another great game. Now, I'm not sure if Space Panic is an arcade conversion, and therefore I'm not sure how faithful it is, but it is a very fun game to play. And like I say, once again, this just proves that the ColecoVision was miles ahead of its time in terms of graphics. In 1983, the video game market crashed for a number of reasons. Sales of the ColecoVision, VCS and Intellivision plummeted. Not even Atari's new 5200 Super System could find its feet. In Europe, the industry survived, clinging on to the microcomputer generation, and it was here Coleco hoped the Atom would keep their console afloat. But their computer add-on had been rushed, and was plagued with technical problems which destroyed its image before Coleco could do anything to put it right. They were forced to downsize their video game business, and by the end of 1984, the ColecoVision was discontinued, with around 4 million systems sold. Then, in '85, the video game business shut down altogether, leaving the console's last few fans with just 120 or so games. By the end of this year, the industry started to recover, with the Nintendo Entertainment System leading the charge. Atari re-released the VCS as the 2600, and dusted off the plans for the previously cancelled 7800. But Coleco was nowhere to be seen. The company had gone back to making toys, and enjoyed success with products like the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls. Their mighty ColecoVision, which had shown so much potential, was gone, and the company showed no interest in getting back into video games. Bitcorp produced a clone of the system in '86, and its rights were bought by Telegames in 1988 after Coleco filed for bankruptcy. Today, as with so many retro systems, there is an active homebrew community for the ColecoVision, with some games even being professionally released. and there is even a new expansion module released by Opcode, bringing all the functionality of the cancelled Super Game module and more. It's definitely worth checking out if you're a big fan of the system. Most people, however, remember the 2600 and forget the ColecoVision, leaving it consigned to the history books for parody use in things like South Park. But if you find one for a reasonable price, it's well worth picking up. The ColecoVision really didn't deserve its fate. It had tons of potential and great games. And if not for the video game crash, we could well be playing the ColecoVision's successor today. That's all we've got time for on this episode, but don't forget to follow us on Twitter for more retrotainment. I really can't believe I said retrotainment. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss a show. Thanks for watching.